The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy.
You are listening to Canary Cry News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Cry News Talk. Today is May 20th, 2025, 2020, and this is episode 199, and this week, hybrid mice, cat conspiracy, watching, and 5G. My name's Basil.
And this is Gonz. Apparently, Basil is on 56K connection from back on AOL portal. It's okay.
For some reason, I don't know what's going on, but suddenly my internet today is getting throttled. I got the nice upgraded fast connection. It's been great the past few weeks, and something's going on today. Maybe my neighbor is sniping my Wi-Fi.
Yeah, it's possible. Well, welcome everybody. We're live on Face Like the Sun, Canary Cry Radio YouTube channel. We're live on Twitch, live on DLive, and Facebook and Twitter, Periscope. Welcome everybody. If you're listening to this through the RSS feed, you will hear Basil crystal clear, but if you're watching live or listening live, you will likely get the fuzzy, AOL.com version, the AIM version of Basil coming through.
Fuzzy Basil, just so cute and fuzzy. I'm trying to clean up my my act over here. We'll see if I can get it working any better.
Okay. Well, kind of a downer to start it off, but maybe it's not a downer. We'll I don't know. It's one of those things that's bittersweet. We're just going to really get into it real quick here. FaithWire, world-renowned Christian apologist Ravi Zacharias dies at 74. And, you know, Ravi's one of those guys that some people disagree with some of his views and stuff, but in terms of a Christian apologist, he really helped me out into understanding arguments for the existence of God. One of the more compelling arguments that really was sentimental to me, because it just really made sense to me when I heard it, was his argument about evil, or against the atheist argument against God, that, what about evil in the world? And he does this whole deconstruction of the question where basically he shows how if you ask the question about evil, you're admitting that there is good and evil in this world, and therefore you're basically admitting that there is this moral lawgiver. And if you deny that, then you're denying that there's good. And if you deny that there's good, you're denying that there's evil. And then the question self-destructs. And one of the criticisms of that question that people often brought up was, well, how do you get from this idea or notion of, there has to be a lawgiver? And I wanted to play about a minute and 30-second clip here of Ravi discussing that question about, why the moral lawgiver? And this was I think it was on the, actually, I don't know, the John Ankenberg show. Here's the clip.
How does it necessarily follow that if you have a moral law, this necessitates that you had a moral lawgiver?
It's a great question. And actually, I pondered about that for a long time, John. I said, how do you find this link between a moral law and a moral lawgiver? And it all came about with the problem of evil being raised. When you raise the problem of evil, you assume there's good. When you assume there's good, you assume there's a moral law. You assume there's a moral law, you have to posit a moral lawgiver. But the question is why? And here's the answer to that. Because anyone who raises the question on the problem of evil, it's either raised by a person or about a person, which means the problem of evil, when it is posited, assumes the intrinsic worth of personhood. If there's no intrinsic worth to personhood, the question actually self-destructs. So personhood is necessary for the question to be valid. That's why we can only justify it if the person is the creation of an individual of distinct worth, which is God himself. That's why we move to a moral lawgiver. The question self-destructs if personhood is not valuable. It's a very critical jump, but it's very important. And whenever I've talked to skeptics or whatever in this, it gives them pause. They say, yeah, and then they try to divert and move off in other directions. Your life and my life assume intrinsic worth for the problem of evil as a question to be valid. And that intrinsic worth can only come if we are the creation of God himself, not the random product of time plus matter plus chance.
And that argument is really important because of the fact that, we talk about personhood here. We talk about transhumanism a lot. And those arguments for, not augmenting ourselves and becoming these gods and all that kind of stuff, it's predicated on personhood and the value that we have as individuals. So I don't know, just wanted to mention that, and we do have a quick jingle for Ravi.
Well done, thou good and faithful servant.
So a little sentimental, bittersweet intro to the episode, but wanted to pay my respects to Ravi Zacharias, one of the best Christian apologists out there that in our time anyway.
Indeed, yeah, and it seems like his condition and passing happened fairly quickly. I mean, over the past few weeks, at least from the updates that I was getting. But there you go, he's in his reward.
Yes.
So we thank God for his life, and he will be remembered. And there you go. Very good, Gons. We got some fans. We got some conversations going on in the chat about Ravi, this and that. But regardless of your feelings about every word that comes out of somebody's mouth, he certainly did a lot of good work during his life.
Amen. All right.
Okay, ready. Are you ready?
From Ravi to cats.
Okay.
That's an old jingle that we haven't played in a while.
I know. I got to find more things to put at the top of the show here. No Flippy update today. Waiting for the roboticists to install the upgrades for us to report on. But there is an interesting article over on Daily Mail. Gotta love it, Daily Mail, that came out yesterday. And this is something a lot of us, cat people have known for a while. Last episode, I held up my giant quarantine cat, had lots of comments, lots of nice things to say. People saying, oh, he's a cat person. That explains everything. But I'm going to take a second and explain the rest from this article on dailymail.co.uk. And the article reads, Tom and Jerry have been at it for millennia. First domestic cats appeared in Europe almost 10,000 years ago as mice spread across the continent, study reveals. Here we go. Europe's first domestic cats appeared around the same time as mice spread all over the continent. A study shows cats and mice spreading at the same time, Gons. Coincidence? I think not. The study says that humans' domestication of cats in Europe may have been to try and control the spread of mice to protect grain and food stocks. It looked at 8 countries, including Britain, and found that human society has facilitated the spread of the mouse over the last 20,000 years. The house mouse is widespread throughout the world today, making it the most invasive rodent species. The team found that hunter-gatherers in the eastern Mediterranean region of the Western Asia kept a commensalism relationship with mice, where they were happy for mice to prosper without getting anything in return. Commensalism is a long-term relationship from which one of the species benefits, but the other species is neither benefited nor harmed. But mice only spread around Eastern Europe 6,500 years ago and Southern Europe 4,000 years ago. The more urban Europe became, and the more it became involved in trade, and more mice were able to survive, which may have been why humans kept cats around. National French Center for Scientific Research study leader Dr. Thomas Cucci said that although people think of rats as invasive rodents, mice have been much more successful at it. Dr. Cucci said that studying more where mice were able to spread was essentially studying where domestic cats followed. Domestic cats have been chasing mice around the world for tens of thousands of years, making them just as present as each other in almost every human society. So there you go, Guns. We have cats, the cat conspiracy, using humans to farm mice. So, who adopted who,
Well, if the cats are truly the aliens on this world, then they have manipulated us for a long time for their foe there.
Yeah. And as we all know, there is a parasite in cat feces that worms its way into human brains, and it's meant for mice. The parasite is meant to lure mice towards cats into loving them, but we humans are also susceptible to it. Probably thanks to mice. So there you go. It's the circle of life.
Excellent.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, as it is, the mice may have been manipulating humans their own way, and returning the favor.
Feels so used, Guns.
Yeah, I know.
But as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be.
Another dailymail.co.uk article. It's our great source of information here. Scientists create the most advanced human-mouse hybrid embryo ever, with as much as 4% of its blood, brain tissue, and heart cells coming from human stem cells. I don't know, it's getting kind of creepy. 4%, that's quite a lot. Scientists have successfully mixed human and mice cells in a hybrid chimera embryo, the most advanced example of its kind. The project was organized by researchers at State University of New York at Buffalo and can point to a major advance in hybrid embryo creation that could be used in the future to harvest organs for human transplants. The team successfully combined human stem cells with embryonic mice cells by temporarily deactivating a protein called mTOR in the human cells. This protein regulates cell growth, and after several hours without the protein active, the human stem cells reverted to a naive state, their earlier form, when they can grow into the widest range of possible organs or tissues. These naive human stem cells raised the chance of successful integration with the mice embryo cells, according to the report in Science News. The team injected between 10 and 20 batches of these naive human stem cells into mice embryos and left them to develop for 17 days. The resulting embryo had between 0.1 and 4% of their total cells from the human stem cells. You put the same human cells in a mouse embryo and they go fast, SUNY Buffalo's Jiang Feng told Science News. In 17 days, you get all these mature cells that would otherwise take months to get in a normal human embryo. And it's got these really scientific-y, microscopic-y looking images of these cells growing. And then it says down here, in the article, the human stem cells were most abundant in the red blood cells circulating through the embryo, and they were also present in liver tissue, heart, eye cells, and even the brain. One area where the human stem cells weren't found were in the reproductive organs, meaning the team won't have to worry about the prospect of the chimera creatures potentially reproducing, which is kind of an interesting thing.
That's a relief.
Well, there's some research that had been done about the Nephilim and stuff and how they couldn't really reproduce. So there's some little, throwback to Genesis 6 there. One area where the human... Oh, yep. What? Did I already read that?
Yeah,
I don't know. Oh, yeah, I did. Many scientists are still concerned with the ethics of producing such mixed species chimera embryos. In 2019, Chinese researchers created more than 4,000 pig embryos. I wonder if that's pig-human, but it says pig-pig. Pig embryos injected with human stem cells, of which 2 piglets survived gestation and were actually born, though both died within a week. Douglas Minoz of Queen's University in Kingston, Canada, feared these attempts posed ethical risks that were beyond most scientists' abilities to predict. For us to start to manipulate life functions in this kind of way without fully knowing how to turn it off or stop it if something goes awry really scares me, Munoz said in 2019. So there you go. You got, on one hand, cats domesticating humans to take over the mice or keep the mice away, and now the mice are being used in laboratories by humans to become more chimeric. We're just in the middle of a big species war, cats versus mice, Tom and Jerry, and here we are right in the middle of it all.
Again, I feel so used. Yeah, and this whole chimera thing is troublesome. And just to give a little bit of a background for people, again, every show is somebody's first show. Somebody is just experiencing the Canary Cry madness for the first time. So, I find that we need to explain something. We like to take for granted that everybody knows why we aren't huge fan of chimeric entities and messing with genomes and things like that. So, Gons, you want to give a little bit of a rundown about why chimeras aren't the greatest thing?
Well, there's a passage in Genesis 6 in the Bible that talks about the sons of God mating with the daughters of men. And the oldest view of what happened there was that these angelic or divine beings came down and they mated with human women and they created these giants called Nephilim. And the reason for the great flood was not so much the humans were just mean to each other, but rather there might have been some kind of genetic tampering, because God says early on, each after their own kind, animals, seeds, even humans. And when that design is disrupted, there's nothing but evil in the world. And therefore, God had to wipe everything out. And Genesis 6 even talks about how all flesh had corrupted their ways. And so, the idea here is that maybe mixing genes and stuff is not a good idea. But we'll come back to the Nephilim at the end of the show. We do have a Nephilim update. If you're new, that's sort of the rundown in just a minute or so of what the worldview is concerning that.
And what was fascinating was the Noah movie that came out a few years ago had some chimera hints of chimeric stuff, pre-flood, which is a big conversation in the research community regarding the flood and some gene editing or like you said, corruption that could have been happening before the flood. Do you remember that? Did you see the Noah live action movie that came out? I think it was James Cameron.
Yeah, I did, but I don't remember much from it. I just remember giant rock beings being like they're supposed to be the Watchers or something like that.
They were the Watchers, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in the beginning, they had like weird half dog, half lizard dinosaur beings running around. That was, it's kind of like a chimeric dog lizard. Just as a piece of wildlife, not really important to the story, but just a hint to what could have been going on.
It seems like we're having some buffering issues again, which is, I don't know why. It looks like our bit rate, upload speed is fine. But again, if you guys are struggling to hear everything clearly or see everything because of the throttling going on, you can go ahead and just wait until it's published on the podcast feed. Go to Canary Cry Radio or canarycrynewstalk.com and or look for it on your podcast catcher, and you'll find all of the
It'll be beautiful.
Episodes.
It'll be crystal clear and waiting there for you.
Yeah.
And if you are having buffering problems on a certain platform, try another platform. Try twitch.tv/Canary Cry Radio if your YouTube is buffering too much. But we'll keep trying to clean it up here. My numbers are looking good now. But so, Gons, moving on, let me tell you about the People Zoo, baby.
I like to be warm and safe in my People Zoo.
That's right. Forbes.com. This was interesting. The sun is asleep. Deep solar minimum feared as 2020 sees record-setting 100-day slump. What are we talking about, Gons? While we on Earth suffer from coronavirus, our star, the sun, is having a lockdown all of its own. Spaceweather.com reports that already there have been 100 days in 2020 when our sun has displayed 0 sunspots. That makes 2020 the second consecutive year of a record-setting low number of sunspots, which you can see a complete absence of here, and they show the picture. All right, link to the picture. Note, never look at the sun with the naked eye or through binoculars or a telescope that aren't fitted with solar filters. Okay, thank you. So, are we in an eternal sunshine of the spotless kind? Quote, this is a sign that some writer was super stoked that he could
was
get
really excited
this
about
line in there, especially since that movie has nothing to do with this story whatsoever. Okay, quote, this is a sign that the solar minimum is underway, reads spaceweather.com. Quote, so far this year, the sun has been blank 76% of the time, a rate surpassed only once before in the space age. Last year, 2019, the sun was blank 77% of the time. 2 consecutive years of record-setting spotlessness. ends up to a very deep solar minimum indeed.
Or adds up.
Oh, adds
Yeah.
up. Yeah. What does all of this mean? Here's everything you need to know about the sun, the solar cycle, and what a deep solar minimum means for us. What is a sunspot? In an area of intense magnetic activity on the surface of the sun, a storm that appears as an area of darkness. Sunspots are indicative of solar activity, birthing solar flares and coronal mass ejections. Although sunspots seem like tiny specks, they can be colossal in size. Sunspots have been continuously counted each day since 1838, which has allowed solar scientists to describe a repeating pattern in the wax and wane of activity on the sun's surface, the solar cycle. The sun has a cycle that lasts between 9 and 14 years, typically 11 years on average, and right now we're in the trough. At the peak of that cycle, called solar maximum, the sun produces more electrons and protons as huge solar flares and coronal mass ejections. From a visual perspective, the solar cycle is a sunspot cycle, since solar scientists can gauge where the sun is in its cycle by counting sunspots on its surface. While there's some evidence that the solar cycle affects Earth's weather and climate, the status of the sun has the most obvious effect on the intensity and frequency of aurora. The more charged up the solar wind headed towards Earth, the brighter and more frequent are the displays of the northern and southern lights. What's known as the aurora oval gets larger too, so people who live in areas that normally don't experience aurora, such as the USA and Western Europe, sometimes get to see them. Either way, a solar maximum is historically when aurora are at the most frequent and spectacular. What is solar minimum? Just as solar maximum sees many sunspots, are you still there, Guns?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, sorry, I got some alerts coming up on my computer. I thought the whole world crashed. All right, what is solar minimum? Just as the solar maximum sees many sunspots, the trough of solar minimums features 0 sunspots, and that's what's going on now. However, it's been continuing rather longer than expected, which means the sun is in the midst of a particularly deep solar minimum. The most infamous happened between 1645 to 1715. Strangely before they started recording it in the 1800s. But
they know everything in the past now. They got time travelers.
Yes, of course. When a Maunder minimum saw a prolonged sunspot minimum when sunspots were very rare for an extended period. The current record-breaking solar minimum is part of a longer pattern of wax and wane. In fact, it's believed that the sun may have been in a magnetic lull for the last 9,000 years at least. Okay, sure, whatever you say. Then it kind of goes into when the next, it goes into a lot of details about this particular thing, asking all sorts of questions, how the solar cycle affects solar eclipses, how to see explosions on the sun. Why is this good news for North American eclipse chasers? Kind of just goes through a whole bunch of stuff. But there you go, Gans, the sun is asleep, and it's been asleep for a long time, apparently.
I think that you missed the trigger paragraph here. Once.
Oh no.
I think it may have one way. One way to gauge what's going on visually is by counting sunspots, and the other is by looking at the sun's mighty corona during the total eclipse. The corona total solar eclipse. So there you go. Yeah, maybe it was all planned all along. Coronavirus, corona.
Well, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, they lined it up. It's interesting because, in the weather change or the weather, what am I trying to say? Climate change debate. Yeah. There's one side. I mean, really, the debate is about, is it man-made or is it some sort of Earth cycle that the Earth is going through? And and of course, those who like to think critically and not have to take a political stance on it, probably a little bit of both. Doesn't mean we need to pay taxes to fix the weather, but anyways, that's for another conversation. But this whole, the sun even going through these, maybe not heating and cooling cycles is not the absolute correct way to talk about it, but, a calming and an intensifying cycle, which we already know, the number of sunspots and solar storms and things like that have a lot of different effects on the Earth. Ranging, all the way from, telecommunications, satellite operations, all the way down to how easy it is to get a sunburn, Gons.
Yeah. Somebody in the chat said the sun got the Rona.
Sun got the Rona, man.
Yep. Locked down.
But yeah, so there you go. We're in a weird, the sun is asleep, as if, there's all these memes about, first we had coronavirus. Oh man, who's the basketball player? Kobe. First Kobe passed, then coronavirus, then the murder hornets. What's next? And apparently it's the sun falling asleep. So everybody go out and buy some toilet paper.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Not sure what to do with that, but okay. Yeah. Toilet paper, because the sun is asleep. We're going to all need to...
Makes just as much sense.
You're right. It does. It does make just as much sense. Okay. This next story, real quick. This is a short one here.
I tried to tell you, Illuminatus.
And if you're a MAGA guy or gal, you might not be happy about this one. This was actually some research done by, and maybe this is old news for some people, Hebrews 12:2 on Twitter. Shout out to Hebrews 12:2. He found this little article from the Church of Satan, hierarchy in the Church of Satan. And you kind of just read through the different degrees here. Oh, and what does it say? The 5th degree is considered a MAGA, M-A-G-A, or a magus. And
yeah.
Yeah. And it says down here, priesthood of Mendez. These are the individuals who act as spokesperson for the philosophy of the Church of Satan, which include the titles priest, priestess, magister or magistra, or magus or MAGA. So
oh my gosh.
You go. Sorry, folks.
What are you trying to say, Gons?
I don't know. Maybe it was just one big magic trick, one big sorcery trick.
Yeah, well, that is actually interesting because, of course, MAGA itself, and we've talked quite a bit about this over the years. When you talk about spells and symbology and
chaos magic.
Chaos magic, where a spell gains power by the amount of sort of human consciousness focusing on it. That would be very interesting. I mean, that would be quite the trick to pull, Gons.
I know.
If MAGA, which, of course, to everybody who hasn't been living under a rock, means make America great again. But yeah, this connection to the 5th degree magus or MAGA, that would be giving, in somebody's belief system, that would be giving quite the amount of power to some sort of MAGA spell there.
Yeah.
And I would say, and if I'm not, look, I'm not trying to get into it here, but I'm saying if that's the case, it seems to have worked.
Seriously, got a lot of people on board, that's for sure. And we know that sorcery in politics is very much a thing. There was an article from back in it must have been like it was a while ago. I don't remember the exact year, but some mystical rabbis talked about handing out bracelets for the re-election of Netanyahu in Israel and stuff like that. So they've been doing this sort of thing for a while. So it's not really surprising. The Kabbalah bracelets. Yeah, so just look out for that kind of stuff. Your common folk may not know about these issues, but I'm sure the people watching and listening have a little inkling.
And it's the thing to keep in mind, when things are picking up some real mass steam and some mass support and mass attention. I mean, there is a way to look at this, and we don't get into it all the time because it can just be exhausting and kind of confusing to people. But, you remember when I was saying I was really suspicious of a lot of these documentaries getting dropped and immediately having like huge amounts of views, unexplainable amounts of views? I'm just, again, I'm not going to do a whole diatribe on it now, but it seems like there could be some sort of connection there as well.
Yes.
And there's some suspicion around the Q thing too.
Yeah.
I mean, just the fact that these things are gaining so much attention, have so many eyeballs, and are suddenly, seem to be obsessing the minds of so many people in the mainstream who normally would not even consider these types of things does sort of, point to something interesting like that. Just something to keep your eyes out for, folks, and keep your stay sharp.
Stay sharp. I think we do have some super chats coming in. Crystal Moonshine, $5. Thank you. Said,
Thank
good
you.
job, guys. The Narrow Path, $5. And there was
Beautiful.
one, thank you for that, Narrow Path. And there was one, I'm going to have to scroll up the chat here to look at it. Arise said, thank you for the super chat. If divorce rates are at an all-time high between men and women, why are people still worried about gay people? I don't know. I don't know. Is there
I missed
high?
it. What was the question?
The question was, let's see, if divorce rates are at an all-time high between men and women, why are people still worried about gay people? Like gay people divorcing or
I
getting
ain't
married?
touching that, man.
Yeah, it's a little
all
outside
you,
of our
buddy.
scope of conversations. But thank you for the super chat.
There you go. Point
Appreciate it.
taken.
And yeah.
Okay, and I want to real quick. Oh, you got something?
No, go ahead.
Okay, real quick, I want to give some shout outs to some Twitch viewers here, people helping us get to some goals we have over on Twitch, and those goals are going to help us make the stream even more exciting. We get to give some controls over to audience members who participate a lot, that kind of stuff. It's going to be fun, but we got to get our average viewership over. And Gons, I'm going to read you some people who are helping us do that. If this is your first time over on Twitch,
Switch to Twitch.
Why don't you post something in the chat so I know it's your first time watching. But I want to give a big old shout out to a new follower. Oh, this one's good. New follower named Presidential Spacewalker. Thank you, Presidential Spacewalker.
Hold on, I got to get out of this thing here. Sorry, go ahead. Keep going.
We got another follower named Rogue Amish Man. Thanks, Rogue Amish
That's an
Man.
awesome
Thanks
name.
for being here. Yeah, we got a new follower named Josh Oshkosh Bagosh. Thanks, Josh.
Right.
Oshkosh. Then we got Unite Don't Bite. Thanks, Unite Don't Bite.
Love it.
No, these are some good
These are good
names
names,
today.
yeah.
I like this. Thanks, everybody. Who else we got? We got Alpha Zenial.
Alpha Zenial. Interesting. Is that
there we go.
Is that person 5 years old or something?
I don't know. It's Xennial spelled Xennial. Maybe it's like a Gen X mixed with a millennial, but they're alpha. They're the
alpha.
first one.
Well, isn't this generation being born called alpha?
I don't know. Is it?
I thought so.
That's crazy.
I thought so. Maybe. Yeah. I got to look that up real quick. But go ahead. Keep going. What else? Who else?
Okay, let's see who else we got. We got oh man, sometimes I gotta like decode these real quick. We got Ton Enterprises. Thanks, Ton Enterprises. We got Anointed Enoch Chap 92 verse 12.
Ooh.
Wow, that's a whole username. Good on you for fitting that all in there. We got Squad 85. Couple more here. K Paris for JC. K Paris for JC. Yeah, Jesus Christ, maybe. And then Arios 1010. Thank all you guys for following. And if you are not yet following us on Twitch, head over to twitch.tv/Canary Cry Radio. Help us out trying to hit our goals over there. It's a great way to help us support ourselves, helping us unlock those tools, especially if you are not in a place where you can help us out financially. This is a great way to feel like you're helping out and to legitimately help out. That's great. And then just from the chat here, I'm going to give a little shout out to Garibaldi Chatbot. That's a good one. DJ DLS23, how you doing? I saw we had Jeff Bezos RFID chips for sale back in the chat.
Nice.
Thanks for being there, buddy. Barebow Games, what's up? And okay, more shout outs coming later. But there we go. Thank you guys so much for heading over to the Twitch, helping us get that average viewership up. It helps a lot. And we are so close to unlocking some extra fun stuff over there. So keep doing it, folks. It helps us out a lot. And, when it comes to the user experience, instead of just me begging you to do it, there's some things to consider. Twitch has some, amazing tools for people in chat. The emojis are better. The the GIFs are better. There's a bunch of great stuff there. And eventually we can actually make it so people can play jingles straight from the chat, which is pretty incredible. But we're going to have to hit some goals and figure that out. But there you go. That's why it's a great place. And from my experience, it seems like, when the show gets all glitchy and kind of buffery, sometimes it'll do that for everybody. But it seems like over on Twitch, it happens a lot less. So if that's something you want to test for us, you can go to twitch.tv/Canary Cry Radio.
Also, Generation Alpha is after they're considered after Generation Z, and usually they are considered people born in the early 2010s and will be ending births around the mid 2020s. So, Basil, I have I'm gonna be having a couple. Well, I have one already, but a second one coming. Both Generation Alpha. How nuts is that?
Generation Alpha.
Yeah.
Why is it called Alpha?
Because it's after Generation Z. It starts over. The whole
just starting over.
Yeah.
Okay.
They didn't want to call them the Nephi generation or the Nephilim generation, so they went with Alpha.
Ooh. Okay. All right. Well, that's very fun. There you go. We got our Alpha Zennial in the house. Happy to hear it.
And we have we're going into some COVID-19 stuff.
That's right.
COVID. And before we start here, there's a lot of censorship stuff going on now, especially on YouTube. You talk about the virus and the 19 and, your video gets demonetized or kicked off or whatever it is. And I was watching some Japanese truther channels. Have you watched these, Basil? You probably haven't.
Japanese truther channels? Yeah. No, but you sent me a clip. You sent me a screenshot,
I did.
And it looks like those are my people, man. It looks like where I belong.
People make fun of us, and people make fun of you, Basil, with the googly eyes. We have nothing on the Japanese streamers. They got costumes, and it's a whole deal over there. It's much more. They
got a whole thing.
Oh, they're way ahead of the curve. But also,
did you throw up that? Do you have that?
I can throw it up. Let me try to figure that out.
Image. You should throw up that image because that's amazing. People, if you're complaining about my googly eyes, you need to see these Japanese truther channels. It is out of control, dude. It is crazy.
It's a lot funnier. And one of the ways that we might be able to do it is start using the Japanese, accent for saying the word vaccine. And as a Japanese American, I give every one of you Americans or even people around the world to use the accent. It won't be making fun of it. Here's how it sounds.
Vaccine.
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 It's wakching.
Wakching.
So don't say vaccine because they'll censor you. It's wakching.
Oh yeah, it's a good way around the algorithmic demonetization.
It's just going to confuse them. Wakching.
Little tip for all you content producers out there.
Yep.
Okay, this story comes from thedailybeast.com, Gons. And the article reads, childhood vaccinations plummet amid coronavirus. Sorry. Yes. Childhood watchinations plummet amid coronavirus pandemic.
Can't even say it right.
Says the CDC. Okay, the article reads, the rate of routine immunizations for children has dropped dramatically as a result of shelter-in-place orders and social distancing guidelines amid the coronavirus pandemic. According to a Centers for Disease Control and Prevention report released Monday, the agency compared data from Michigan's immunization information system over the past 4 years for children aged 2 years and under. The rate of vaccine coverage for children aged 5 months plunged from 2/3 over the past 4 years to less than half in May 2020. For children and teens under the age of 18, there was an over 20% decline in the number of influenza vaccines administered from January to April of this year compared with the past 2 years. The report warns that concerted efforts are needed to ensure rapid catch-up for children who are not up to date with vaccinations, recommended by the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices. And there you go. That's the end of the article.
Nice.
Booyah. Vaccinations are down just across the board, including flu vaccinations and vaccinations for children. I imagine that this is a mix between, the shelter in place. They call it all about shelter in place. They're like, no, people, haven't been leaving their houses, so they can't get vaccinated. I think that there's something more to it, Gons.
Yeah, they might be setting up for just more things going wrong in terms of, the kids aren't getting their vaccines. And
of course, anybody who doesn't get a vaccine of any kind is, is actively killing other people on purpose and are evil.
Okay.
If you listen to some of the Karens on Facebook.
Before we move on, I got the picture up on the screen here for anybody that wants to check it out. It's there you go. This is this isn't necessarily
it's not
necessarily a Japanese truther channel, but you got try to describe what's going on here with the different characters. They all got green screens except for a couple guys here.
Oh yeah, for those who are not watching live and are listening to the podcast, we've got 6 little boxes on the screen. One of them looks like a mix between he's dressed up a mix between Worf from Star Trek and Gandalf.
Another long guy, eyebrows.
Yeah, another guy's just sort of dressed like an alien. We got another one who's dressed up kind of like a World War II military officer with a green screen of, a space age control room. Another guy's a scientist. It's just wild, man. People have a problem with I think I need to start a Japanese language truther show. I think those are my people.
Yeah, I think we'd fit in better with these folks than apparently the listeners and viewers of the show now. But yeah, what are you going to do?
Yeah. What are you going to do? So back to vaccines,
yes.
Gons. The numbers, vaccines in general have plummeted. Now, I want to know, I need to talk to somebody. If any listeners out there, if you or anybody you know had a child during, a birthday child during the lockdown, because don't they just stick like look, I'm not necessarily fully knowledgeable on everything vaccine, so excuse me. Sometimes I get in trouble because apparently people expect me to be an expert on every single thing that we talk about.
You mean you haven't watched Vaxxed?
I'm more of a generalist.
Yeah.
I did watch Vaxxed, but anyways, in this time where the word vaccine is so loaded, and, if you watch the mainstream, you would think that, the portrayals of anti-vaxxers and people who don't get their kids vaxxed are, weird religious fundamentalist people who never go out of their house and homeschool their kids and, et cetera, et cetera. And I say weird because that's their portrayal.
Right,
that's not me saying
we
that.
Understand.
But the numbers of this were less than 50% of the normal vaccinations are happening. I mean, that is a huge margin of the population. That is not just, weird fringe groups.
You know what it feels like? It's almost like pulling the tide going in, it's pulling back before the big wave comes crashing in again, in a sense where, we got these COVID vaccines. And so, and plus all these people they haven't gotten their normal shots. So we're going to have to do a big rollout of not just to catch everybody up, but also to get everybody clear of the virus. Maybe that's what it is. They're trying to allow this sort of thing to happen. And then it'll be easier to create more of a false flag outbreak of something else. Measles. We took care of the measles, but because of the coronavirus now, because of the lack of vaccines of people, we got to do more. We got to bring back more. I don't know. It's just kind of a give and take type of thing. It could be one of those, I don't know, one of those issues where it's
well, I mean, that is the thing. I mean, we might be setting up for a little bit of a Hegelian dialectic here where, this, I don't know where we would be in this particular cycle of the problem reaction solution cycle, but Gons, we had a note there. Basil's audio is way quieter than yours, Gons. I just scooted up on the microphone. Oh, yep, everybody's saying I'm up close now. Let me know if that's better, everybody.
Yeah.
I was leaning back a little bit, getting a little too relaxed.
Sinking into that chair.
Long story short, Gons, I don't know. I could see this as being a positioning for reaction.
Yeah.
A lot less people are getting vaxxed. We need to mandate them or force them. Of course, those are the things that people are worried about now, including myself.
Plus, it justifies a longer quarantine or a different quarantine, especially in the winter time. The next time it comes around, oh, we got the flu, we got the coronas, and the measles is back. They can just roll out all the stuff. And I don't know, it just feels it does feel like a Hegelian dialectic thing. But we got a couple more articles on the vaccine. I hope that gets stuck in everybody's heads. This is fort-russ.com, and it says here that this was written by Robert F. Kennedy Jr. So we'll see. He had some interesting typos or grammatical things when you type this up, but maybe that's just the editor. Despite Moderna's cheery press release this morning, the clinical trial results for its groundbreaking COVID vaccine could not be much worse. The vaccine, developed and championed by Anthony Fauci and financed by Bill Gates, used an experimental mRNA technology that the two men hoped would allow rapid deployment to meet President Trump's ambitious warp speed timeline. Dr. Fauci was so confident of his shot's safety that he waived ferret and primate studies. Moderna suspiciously reported no health data from its mouse studies. That appears to have been a mistake. 3 of the 15 human guinea pigs in the high-dose cohort, 250 mcg, suffered a serious adverse event within 43 days of receiving Moderna's jab. Moderna did not release its clinical trial study or raw data, but its press release, which was freighted with inconsistencies, acknowledged that 3 volunteers developed grade 3 systemic events defined by the FDA as, quote, preventing daily activity and requiring medical intervention. Moderna allowed only exceptionally healthy volunteers to participate in the study. Vaccine with those reaction rates could cause grave injuries in 1.5 billion humans if administered to every person on Earth. And that stood out to me because we had this whole simulation thing saying 2 million Americans are going to die from this, right? And so now we have this opposite type of counter counter move or it's kind of the anti-vax crowd, so to speak, coming out with numbers themselves based on it's not a simulation, but it's more of a projection saying that if everybody on Earth gets it, then 1.5 billion, I guess they're just using the percentages from that study of 15 people. But it says that this is the threshold that Gates has established for ending the global lockdown. Moderna did not explain why it reported positive antibody tests for the only 8 participants. These outcomes are particularly disappointing because the most hazardous hurdle for the inoculation is still ahead, challenging participants with wild COVID infection. Past attempts at developing COVID vaccines have always faltered at this stage, as both humans and animals achieved robust antibody response, then sickened and died when exposed to the wild virus. Moderna's press announcement heralded positive interim phase 1 findings. I have forwarded that claim to my colleagues in securities law. FTC rules restrict the amount of lipstick public companies may slather on bad donkeys. So very colorful language there. But yeah. I said it before, but it's that 1.5 billion humans being, having grave injuries because of this particular vaccine.
Yeah, it's just so sketchy, man.
I know.
And, here's the thing. Like, you don't even have to be an anti-vaxxer necessarily to think that that's a sketchy way to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's wild how they get away with this stuff. And, of course, they're kind of ducking and dodging and diving and kind of maneuvering their way through this. And look, I'm purposefully not taking a total anti-vaxxer stance right now on the show because that'll turn off the conversation to a lot of people. If you try to have that conversation in a mainstream or normie crowd, it's just not going to get you anywhere because they've got their mind control, tentacles where immediately it's going to start triggering people if you, start coming off as an anti-vaxxer type person.
Yeah.
And me, I'm always trying to.
I know.
Always trying to find the best ways to talk to the normies.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole point. We could all sit in our echo chamber and pass the same articles around, but if we're not able to talk to the normies about it, then what's the point? So the point I'm saying here is you don't even have to take a full-fledged anti-vax stance to look at the facts of the Moderna study and say it's not quite up to snuff.
Yeah.
It's just not there yet.
It's not good in 15 individuals, healthy individuals. Why are we rolling it out? And you know what? Not for Twitchers not to be outdone. There was a YouTuber handle, I love Africa, y'all, with the avatar being Bill Gates holding some syringes. And the comment was 1.5 ain't bad, guys. Well done.
That's, good job. I will say just a quick shout out to a couple of new Twitch followers, Flippy Sofa King Fly. So thank you, Flippy Sofa King Fly. As Azteca Sketch, very funny, very good. Azteca Sketch. There we go. There's the and Pale Horse Kid. Thank you both for being here.
All right.
Yeah.
There's
people making me say bad things.
I know they've done it
when I read. They
win. There was a second article from the lastamericanvagabond.com that was it's basically the same article or same information as Moderna's, and the headline is as Moderna's COVID-19 vaccine takes the lead, its chief medical officer's recent promotion of gene editing vaccines comes to life. And I think the only thing that I wanted to say here was that they added Bill Gates as part of the issue here. And I just have one highlighted paragraph. However, since at least last fall, Moderna has sought to resolve the issue by adding nanoparticles to its mRNA vaccine modification financed by the Pentagon's Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, DARPA. Moderna is a strategic ally of DARPA and has received millions from DARPA and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation.
Mill and Belinda.
Several years prior to the current coronavirus crisis, DARPA's plans for nanoparticles and nanotechnology and their potentially Orwellian applications were the subject in a recent Last American Vagabond report. So there you go. Another outlet sort of calling out the nonsense that we see from the whole WHO and the
There's
whole
a lot of
establishment.
Nonsense to be called out, man.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, I saw somebody, trying to be snide in the chat saying that I'm being seeker friendly, and maybe I am. But I've had a lot of good conversations with normies recently, and they're waking up, man. And it's all about that little by little.
Yeah.
people who are normally fully on board with the establishment and whatever they're told are starting to question the weirdness, especially when I actually got to bust it out the other day. I wasn't wearing a mask. I was running around and somebody asked me where my mask was. And I said, I just listened to the experts. On May 6th, Fauci went on 60 Minutes and said not to wear a mask. So I don't wear one. And their head just exploded. It was really fun to watch. And a quick correction. Sorry, I read the name wrong. It's AZ Etch-a-Sketch, like Arizona Etch-a-Sketch, not Azteca Sketch or whatever I said. But yeah, it's
it's a tactic that in Christian apologetics, since we started with Ravi here, Greg Koukl actually talks about putting a rock in people's shoes. You have conversations, you drop a couple pieces of info. You don't drop boulders on them because they can really lose it if you do that.
They freak
out.
Man.
So you gotta just put little rocks in their shoes, things that they will walk away thinking, man, that really bothers me that what he said there, or what he talked about or whatever it is. And that's how enough times they run into enough people or enough arguments, and eventually they start understanding what's really going on. And you got to get them to get curious on their own. You can't just dump a bunch of info on them. Usually that makes for people, turning away or going in the other room or whatever it is, calling you crazy.
And the best way to do it right now, sorry to interrupt, I just got so excited. The best way to do it right now is to point out the contradictions that are blatantly out there. You don't even have to get all conspiracy-y.
Right.
All you got to do is say, find the clip of Fauci on May 6th talking about don't wear a mask, wearing masks are stupid, and put it out there. Yeah. And to watch a normie have to reconcile that Fauci says don't wear a mask, but everybody on, all their news anchors are telling them to wear a mask or else they're an evil person. It's a great place to start. And For the Remnant in chat said normie friendly is greater than symbol seeker friendly. So there you go. Normie friendly is all good.
YouTube Yoda in the chats. If a mask can't stop your own fart, then it's useless.
I did have to bust out the article about how farts make you live longer, smelling other people's farts.
Okay.
The other day.
Excellent.
Just a side note.
The articles that didn't make it on the show.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of which, let's talk about some more monkey business. COVID monkey business, Gons.
Vaccine.
Dailymail.co.uk doubts raised over Oxford coronavirus vaccine after all of the monkeys that took part in the trial are found to have contracted the disease. Poor monkeys, man. We gotta set all the monkeys free. The article reads, the coronavirus vaccine being developed by scientists at Oxford University may not prevent people from becoming infected with the disease after all, experts have warned. In the latest animal trials of the vaccine carried out on the rhesus macaques, all 6 of the participating monkeys went on to catch the coronavirus. Dr. William Hasseltine, a former Harvard Medical School professor, revealed the monkeys who received the vaccine had the same amount of virus in their noses as the 3 non-vaccinated monkeys in the trial. This suggests the treatment, which has already received in the region of £90 million in government investment, may not halt the spread of the deadly disease. The deadly disease. The 0.06% deadly disease.
It's less than that.
I know. The bombshell comes after initial reports last week suggested the vaccine offered some immunity against the virus and stopped it getting deep into the lungs where it becomes deadly. The vaccine, known as, holy moly, Chadox1 nCoV-19, is currently undergoing its first human clinical trial. As nations killed the monkeys, but we're giving it to humans. As nations accelerate their efforts to tackle the deadly virus.
That looks like a handle of a hacker or something. It doesn't even look like a real thing.
This needs to be somebody's Twitch profile. Somebody who's in YouTube who's just waiting for the perfect name to switch over to Twitch. There you go. Gons, maybe you can copy and paste that into the chat so somebody can take it. In the latest setback, it is the latest setback to hopes of a cure after a professor at Imperial College London, where researchers were also studying a potential vaccine, warned earlier today a working vaccine is unlikely to be ready this year. Just a note, Imperial College in London is where all those models came out of,
right?
Where
2 million
coronavirus was supposed to have killed 2 million people by now.
Yeah.
He said people should have, quote, should not have false expectations of cure being ready soon, despite ministers revealing they are hoping to have 30 million vaccine doses for the UK by September. Now, just to point something out, and this is part of what we do here, notice how they equate the word cure with the word vaccine. Vaccines are not cures. And whenever you see anybody or any outlet equating cures with vaccines, are either A, lying, or B, don't know what they're talking about. So moving forward, discussing the Oxford vaccine, Dr. Hasseltine wrote on Forbes, all of the vaccinated monkeys treated with Oxford vaccine became infected when challenged. There was no difference in the amount of viral RNA detected from nasal secretions in the vaccinated monkeys as compared to the unvaccinated animals, which is to say all vaccinated animals were infected. Professor of molecular biology at Nottingham University, John Ball, warned the amount of virus genome detected in the noses of the vaccinated and unvaccinated monkeys was the same, and this is concerning. Yeah, no kidding. If this represents infectious virus and a similar thing occurs in humans, then vaccinated people can still be infected and shed large amounts of the virus. This could potentially spread to others in the community. Professor of Immunology and Infectious Disease at Edinburgh University, Eleanor Riley, said that the number of antibodies produced was insufficient to prevent infection and viral shedding. If similar results were obtained in humans, the vaccine would likely provide partial protection against the disease in the recipient, but would unlikely to reduce transmission in the wider community. Et cetera, et cetera. So what are your thoughts? This article goes on for quite a bit longer. I'm going to scan for any other pertinent information, but I'll let you chime in.
Yeah, I think we pretty much nailed down the point of if it's not really working in monkeys, why are they rolling it out to humans? But
yeah, that's weird, huh?
That's very weird. I mean,
weird move.
It's almost like they think we're just monkeys. We're just one big experiment.
Oh, burn. Yeah, basically the rest of this article just repeats over and over and over the things that we just said.
For SEO purposes, apparently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Did you pop that name in there? I'm waiting for Chadoxy nCoV-19 to join Twitch.
Yes, it's in there for anyone that wants to take that up.
So, long story short, Gons, the vaccine mission is not going well for monkeys and for humans.
Yep. No good.
Vaccine.
Yeah.
Vaccine.
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 And we're going to stick to the COVID topic, but get into some CRISPR.
COVID.
CRISPR. Cas9.
I love that jingle. This is phys.org. Researchers tap CRISPR technology to connect biology, electronics. And it says here, in an effort to create first-of-kind microelectronic devices that connect with biological systems, University of Maryland researchers are utilizing CRISPR technology in a novel way to electronically turn on and off several genes simultaneously. Their technique, published in Nature Communications, has the potential to further bridge the gap between the electronic and biological worlds, paving the way for new, wearable, and smart devices.
Ooh.
Quote, faced with the COVID-19 pandemic, we now have an even deeper understanding of how smart devices could benefit the general population, said William E. Bentley, professor in UMD's Fischel Department of Bioengineering and Institute for Bioscience and Biotechnology Research, IBBR, and director of the Robert E. Fischel Institute of Biomedical Devices. Ooh, that's a long title. And
Yeah, wow.
he goes on, imagine what the world would be like if we could wear a device and access an app on our smartphone capable of detecting whether the wearer has the active virus, generated immunity, or has not been infected. We don't have this yet, but it is increasingly clear that a suite of technologies enabling rapid transfer of information between biology and electronics is needed to make this a reality. I love how everything accelerates with this virus. Is just even smart devices and connecting biology to your to the electronics there. With such a device, this information could be used, for example, to dynamically and autonomously conduct effective contact tracing, Bentley said. There's that word, contact tracing again. In the past 60 years, or phrase, I guess, in the past 60 years, microelectronics have greatly evolved from the first implantable pacemaker to personal wearables that harness the power of interrelated computing devices, better known as the Internet of Things, or IoT. The next great wave of microelectronics could include devices that tap into and control molecules such as glucose, hormones, or DNA to better human health. But a major roadblock remains. Despite how advanced current smart devices might be, today's microelectronic devices process information using materials such as silicon, gold, or chemicals, and an energy source that provides electrons. But free electrons do not exist in biological systems. As such, there remains a technology gap between microelectronics and the biological world. Maybe because God said don't mix iron with clay. 2 years ago, Bentley, his IBBR and Fischel Institute colleague Gregory F. Payne, and their teams published research on a loophole they discovered. In biological systems, there already exists a small class of molecules capable of shuttling electrons. These molecules, known as redox molecules, can transport electrons to any location. To do this, redox molecules must first undergo a series of chemical reactions, oxidation or reduction reactions, to transport electrons to the intended target. By engineering cells with synthetic biology components, Bentley's research team created a sophisticated synthetic switching system in bacterial cells that recognizes electrons instead of more traditional molecular signals and incorporates the biologically programmable genetic circuitry of CRISPR. Best known for gene editing, CRISPR controls functions were modified to work with SOXR, S-O-X-R, a regulatory protein that is responsible to redox molecules and is found in E. coli. Instead of editing genes, the team is using CRISPR to focus on a cell's metabolic machinery to carry out desired functions. The group's process involves what is known as downregulation and upregulation, whereby a cell either decreases, downregulation, or increases, upregulation, the quantity of a particular component, such as a protein, in response to an external stimulus. The team successfully demonstrated that using CRISPR, they could electronically program the upregulation and downregulation of specific genes in E. coli, as well as in Salmonella. In this way, the team proved that information programmed electronically can be transmitted and within many strains of bacteria using the same medium of redox as a communication channel. And it goes on here. It's a few more paragraphs that we'll skip through here. But yeah, there you go. More research being done. I'm pretty sure that the research for this stuff was going on well before 19. But they're just, more of an excuse to accelerate it even more and to create this, I guess, push to connect biology with electronics. And of course, they have their own agenda there to make it happen with some of their institutes and ivory towers, so to speak. But
right.
I don't know.
Well, as usual, this whole situation is being used to really skyrocket the production and research into lots of things that we've been warning about for years. What is this particular thing supposed to do now? Did I miss it?
I think it basically allows for certain genes to turn on and off within you from electronic devices, which is similar to the ones and zeros.
Controlling a CRISPR type of thing, which problematically it could be done remote if whatever the device implant is on some sort of grid or network, which sounds cool, if you're a transhumanist and you've got some, it's almost like, when you talk about tech companies and stuff, you have like BASS, BASS, blockchain as a service, or SaaS, software as a service. This will be, TAS, transhumanism as a service, which, sounds cool if you're into that kind of thing. The problem is if your cybersecurity isn't up to date, then, you got hackers hacking into your implants there, and with being able to send signals to trigger changes in DNA. I don't know if that's a risk we're really willing to take, Gons.
A few episodes ago, we had somebody say that they're studying CRISPR and why is it bad? It's going to cure cancer and all this kind of stuff. And this is why, this kind of application. And the last couple paragraphs are very short. There's just a couple sentences here. While CRISPR is universally considered an agile tool for biology, this work represents the first demonstration of how CRISPR can be used in bioelectronics to electronically target and control select genes simultaneously. Quote, our next steps involve ramping up our bioelectronics work so that the next generation communication devices can indeed incorporate biological information that is obtained locally. Yep.
Very good. We got a lot of great chat going on about this whole thing. Emphaix is letting me know that TAS is already a thing. So transhumanism as a service, it's not going to work. Tool-assisted speedrun, which is actually kind of a cool thing for those who are into gaming. You can have little mods on your speedrun to help you finish Mario in 3 minutes flat. And American in Russia. I don't know if we've given a shout out to an American in Russia yet.
American in Russia.
First time seeing this guy in the chat, but he says, "Give these dudes money or come to Twitch." He's laying it out. You've got a choice to make. I'm getting distracted by the chat. They're talking about weed. Okay, moving on. Let's see. Here's another one. Let's talk about CRISPR again, Gons. Let's do it.
CRISPR.
Cas9. Okay, this is from GenEng News, geneticengineeringnews.com. Genetic engineering and biotechnology news, and we have CRISPR barcode for whole organism cell-by-cell lineage histories.
Yeah.
Every organism has its own family tree, and like any family tree, an organism's family tree is more interesting if it's both complete and richly detailed. That is, each member of the family tree should be displayed in their proper place along with some biographical information. In the case of an organism, a mouse for example, the family tree's members are individual cells, and the biographical information consists of gene expression profiles. If comprehensive whole organism family trees could be assembled, researchers would learn a lot about development, aging, and disease. Unfortunately, family trees that trace tissue or organism development have been limited to small groups of cells or rendered vaguely suspect due to distortions caused by intrusive cell assessment techniques. Ooh, getting some fancy language here. The good news is that a new technology has been developed that can serve as a sort of ancestry.com for an organism's cells. That is, it promises to couple cell ancestry information with detailed molecular readouts, such as transcriptional signatures. The technology, which is called CRISPR Array Repair Lineage Tracing, Carlin is the
so friendly.
I know, Carlin. We love that guy. Was developed by scientists at the Stem Cell Research Program at Boston Children's Hospital. and Dana-Farber Cancer Institute, Harvard Medical School. It can be used to track every cell in the body from the embryonic stage until adulthood using a barcoding technique and CRISPR gene editing technology. Carlin can identify different cell types as they emerge and what genes each is turning on. Details about Carlin emerged in the journal Cell in an article titled "An Engineered CRISPR-Cas9 Mouse Line for Simultaneous Readouts of Lineage Histories and Gene Expression Profiles in Single Cells." Oh, it's just a catchy title.
Yeah.
Quote, "This model exploits CRISPR technology to generate up to 44,000 transcribed barcodes in an inducible fashion at any point during development or adulthood, is compatible with sequential barcoding, and is fully genetically defined." The article's authors wrote, quote, "We have used Carlin to identify intrinsic biases in the activity of fetal liver hematopoietic stem cell HSC." There's some scientist people. So we have some medical people who listen to the show, and they're shaking their heads disapprovingly at my pronunciation. But anyways, HSC clones, and to uncover a previously unappreciated clonal bottleneck in the responses of HSCs to injury. I don't know if I fully understood what I just said.
I don't.
But going on. Do you?
I don't, but I think the general idea here is that they can create barcodes on every cell and basically just know from birth to death, just every single cell can be tracked.
Yeah, a family tree of every cell within an organism, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Let me just do some, I'll just finish out the article here, a few more paragraphs. Quote, "The dream that many developmental biologists have had for decades is a way to reconstruct every cell lineage, cell by cell, as an embryo develops or as a tissue is built up," said Fernando Camargo, PhD, a senior investigator at the Stem Cell Research Program and co-senior author on the paper with Sahand Hormoz, PhD researcher, Dana-Farber Cancer Institute, and assistant professor of systems biology, Harvard Medical School. Quote, "We could use this mouse model to follow its entire development." Camargo, Hormoz, and co-first authors for their respective labs, Sarah Bowling, PhD, and Luxin Srithravan, created the mouse model using a method they call CRISPR array. Okay, now it's just repeating itself.
Yep.
A little quick scan. No, that's basically it. Yeah, no. They can, they basically barcode every cell and trace its family lineage within the organism, which is pretty astounding. I mean, you're getting to a level of cataloging and knowledge of individual cells within an organism that is, I mean, it's almost godlike, not to trigger anybody, but to know the lineage of every single cell as it develops in an organism is pretty incredible.
Yeah.
And it kind of harkens back to every hair on your head being numbered and all sorts of stuff like that. Well, now the scientists can do the same thing. Just with mice, which, if I understand it, and I'm no professional, Gons, mice have substantially less cells in their body than human beings.
That is my understanding as well, but I could be wrong. Could be wrong about that. You never know with the whole sciences.
Yeah, but that's pretty crazy, man. I mean, that's really, that's pretty astounding. I mean, that kind of blows my mind a little bit to see if that's even possible.
Well, it's really tying it to eschatology, biblical prophecy. I happen to have an eschatological view of the man of sin, Antichrist, presenting himself as the Jewish Messiah. And I think there's pretty good, strong arguments for that biblically. And one of the things that is not clear is whether or not this Antichrist man of sin will present himself as Jesus. Or if it's going to be just, somebody that the elite rabbinical people accept as some kind of messiah figure. But if they start to get to this point where they can literally trace all these genetic things back and create the family tree on a giant database or something, they're going to be able to show like, oh, look, this guy has the genetic lineage of King David. And so we know that he's of that bloodline or whatever. It's not just the DNA now. It's every cell in your body. I don't know. It's just kind of nuts where it's going in that direction. And there's going to be some kind of verification of this messianic entity that may come about if these technologies continue to develop in that way, and unless the Lord ends it all. But also Jesus talking about if he doesn't come back, all flesh would be destroyed. Kind of goes to show you like, hey, maybe he's going to return soon, because we're getting to that point where if we're tracking every cell, then we can destroy every cell, Ooh. Yeah. And I wanted to thank, we got a super chat and it kind of scrolled by and I couldn't catch the name, but thank you. It was a $19.99.
Lady of the Woods.
Lady of the Woods. Thank you
very much, Lady of the Woods. She says, thank you guys. Great show today. Thank you, Lady of the Woods.
Awesome.
Wow, there's a really long, ongoing conversation about weed over in the Twitch. Very interesting. And then we got some people asking me for my address and my blood type.
Nice.
Yeah, I'll have to wait on that. Maybe if a big enough donation comes in, I'll put that out in there.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. All right. Let's see what else we got here. I got to say, actually, just to give a little update, I've been watching our position on the Twitch podcasting charts in the podcasting category. We've been kind of moving up and down. We were as high as 8th there for a second. I think we've fallen back down to about 15th. So we need more people. Head over and watch the Twitch, twitch.tv/Canary Cry Radio. We're climbing the charts over there on Twitch, which is pretty cool. Pretty cool to do. Yeah. And let's give a quick shout out, just some really quick shout outs here to some new Twitch followers. We got Samus Aaron KC. Samus Aaron KC. We got Casey Turbos coming in hot.
Double Casey's.
And we got, lots of Casey's, double Casey's.
Jones?
Goldfinch Girl, which I've seen somewhere else. Where else does Goldfinch Girl follow us? I don't know. But thanks for following the Twitch, folks. We're going to be climbing those charts. We're trying to get our average consecutive viewership up over there so we can unlock some really cool stuff you guys are going to love.
All right.
Okay, moving on, Gonzo. Actually, looks like let's take a real quick break. And want to let everybody know we're going to give some shout outs for some new donors over on Patreon and PayPal. I don't know if you have the PayPal list up in front of you, Gons, but I do want to give one big ol' shout out to Jan S. over on Patreon. Thank you, Jan S. She upped her pledge, which is always a fun thing. It's really difficult to get new people to pledge, and it's even harder to get people to increase their pledge once they're already pledging. And Jan S. Showing a lot of love. Thank you very much, Jan.
Thank you, Jan. Appreciate it.
And that's our only Patreon news for the day, Gons. Nothing new, just Jan.
Just Jan. And I think from since the last episode, we had Regina. And Regina, thank you. And also
thanks, Regina.
Lynn also give us some support on PayPal. So thank you to both of you. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, PayPal and Patreon people. And just to give you guys an idea of what we're all about here, we subscribe to the value for value model. It's a very simple model, and that is we put out the content. It's always free, but we do put a lot of work into it, and we're doing it 3 days a week nowadays, which is a lot of content and a lot of work, but we're happy to do it. And if you get any value out of the show, you have an opportunity to put some value in. So if this is your first episode or 10th or 100th, we've been doing this for almost a decade. However you feel about the stuff we put out, if you find value, you get a chance to put some value back in. And you can do that by going to patreon.com/CCNT for Canary Cry News Talk, patreon.com/CCNT. We got rewards, bonus episodes, all sorts of fun stuff over over there. Or, a lot of people don't like Patreon, and we totally respect that. That's totally cool. You can go to canarycryradio@gmail. Nope, that's not right. canarycryradio.com/support.
canarycryradio.com/support.
That's right. You can go over there. We got canarycryradio.com/support. We got PayPal. We got recurring PayPal options. And if commitment's not your thing, you can give a one-time donation over there, as well as cryptocurrency and all sorts of fun stuff to support the show. And here's the thing. Like I said, it's value for value. We don't run ads on the show. If you're somewhere in the world where your podcast player or something plays ads on the podcast, we don't get anything from that. That's actually, they are doing that without our permission. So keep that in mind. But we don't believe in that system. I mean, the advertising system is why we are in the trouble that we're in. That's why mainstream news stations will just do anything. And I mean, sometimes flat out outright lie just to get people watching, because it's all dollars and cents. The more eyes they have, the more money they make from advertising. And that's just not a healthy way to run a society. So we choose to do the value for value support. If you get value out of the show, you can put value in. And here's the thing: if you don't get value, you don't have to put any value in. That's totally fine. That just tells us you don't get any value, and that's okay. But there's also other ways to support the show.
Yeah.
One great way to do it is to leave a rating and a review wherever you are listening to this or watching this, whether it's on iTunes or Spotify or podcast, in whatever podcast app you use. Leave a rating and a review. It's super helpful, and we need more of them because it tells the robots to show other people the show. That's a great way to do it. Also, we put a call out for jingles. And here's the thing, folks. If you're making jingles, we'll occasionally put calls for jingles out, or if you have a fun idea for a jingle, put it together and email us at canarycryradio@gmail.com. And you're a producer of the show, basically, then. I mean, that's kind of the thing. If you help us with jingles, you're a producer. If you help pay for the show, you're a producer. You need to start telling people that you're a producer of this show called Canary Cry Radio, because that's how it works. If you help pay for the show or help create the show, you're then a producer of the show. So there you go. And Gons, we put a call out for a 5G jingle, and we had a number of responses.
Yeah, we got one from Godspeed to Finch and Joseph. So we appreciate the jingles you guys sent in, and assuming you're guys, I think they were both guys.
Who knows?
And we put them together. I put them together. I made it into one jingle. So here's our new 5G jingle.
5G kills humans.
5G kills humans. Now, Basil, I played this for you prior to the show. And
yeah, we need chat to settle something right here and now.
I'm going to play it again, but Basil is convinced that the jingle says 3G kills humans, and I am hearing 5G kills humans. He even recorded it on his end and sent it to me. In fact, I'm not going to play your version that you sent to me.
It doesn't matter.
But it's clearly 5G kills humans in my head. But Basil says it's 3G. We need to settle this. Okay, here we go. One more time with the jingle, okay?
5G kills humans.
5G kills humans.
I'm telling you, I hear 3G. I cannot not hear 3G. I love the jingle. We're going to keep it. We don't need to change anything. Adam42 says 5. Samus, everybody's saying 5.
I'm telling you.
Oh my God.
I think you've lost it. I think something has happened with your VR.
I'm trying.
Your VR headset has made you mad. Your 5s have turned into 3s.
So hard to hear 5G.
Amelia heard 3. Okay, there's a few 3s coming in. Somebody heard 9G.
9G. Play it one more time.
Okay, we'll play it one more time.
See if I can hear
it's at the end. It's at the end of the clip. Okay, so here we go.
Okay.
5G kills humans.
I can't.
5, and you still
I can
hear
only
3.
hear 3. It's crazy.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I got to get checked, man. My brain's on the fritz apparently. Oh man.
Okay, so we have a couple stories.
I love the 5G 5G's Louise.
5G's Louise. Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
More people. Yeah, VR corrupted him. Yes, that's what I'm thinking. I think the VR goggles have corrupted your hearing.
Changing my perception of the world, man.
Okay, somebody from Facebook coming in. Jade from Facebook coming in saying she heard 3G. So okay, you got a couple people on your side.
Okay.
All right. Okay, Paul and Keep Digging 7. Okay, so this is becoming one of those blue dress, green dress conversations.
Blue dress, white dress.
Oh, was it white dress? I don't even remember the colors, but yeah.
Something, I don't remember. It was blue and white or black and gold or something. Anyways. All right.
Okay, so our 5G, our first 5G story here. You want to take this one? This is CNN. This is a short one here.
Aaron says fine G. I like that. Yeah. Yeah, where is it? Oh, there it is. Hold on. Boop, boop, beep. Boop, boop, beep, connecting to space. Here we go. This is CNN.com. So there we go. We got the true blue here. UK regulator sanctions Nigerian Christian channel over 5G conspiracy theory claims.
Oh, yeah. CNN, baby.
Oh my gosh. Okay, the article reads, British media regulator Ofcom has imposed sanctions against a channel founded by Nigerian megachurch preacher Chris Oyakhilome for airing unsubstantiated claims linking 5G to the coronavirus pandemic. The regulator said while it does not oppose broadcasts airing controversial views or those challenging health authorities, the claims in a sermon aired by Christian channel Love World News calling the pandemic a global cover-up posed serious health consequences to viewers. The sermon questioned the need for lockdown measures to prevent the spread of the virus without providing context, according to the Ofcom investigation. Love World was ordered by the agency to air findings from its investigation given the serious failings by the channel to protect its viewers during the program. CNN contacted Love World News UK for a comment but has yet to receive one. Nigeria's information agency has debunked the popular pastor's claim that the government imposed movement restrictions in its 2 cities to allow the installation of the new generation wireless technology, according to a local report. Oyakhilome presides over one of the largest Christian congregations in Africa, and the church boasts of having branches in countries and university campuses across 5 continents. Ofcom said another report during the broadcast touted hydroxychloroquine as a cure for coronavirus, leaving out doubts about the efficacy of the drug and potentially harmful side effects. Quote, however, given the unsubstantiated claims in both these programs were not sufficiently put into context, they risked undermining viewers' trust in official health advice, with potentially serious consequences for public health, Ofcom said. So we got some, this is some real deal censorship and Ministry of Truthiness shenanigans here, Gons.
Yeah. Not surprising.
Weird. It's so weird because there's so many places that this information shows up from across the board. I wonder if they air on terrestrial television.
Yeah,
which is why they got shut down. That must be why. Huh?
If they're one of the bigger Christian televangelist outlets, there, that's possible. That's what's going on.
Which sounds like the case. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a couple more 5G stories. Running low on time, Basil, but we can go through them fairly quickly here. Okay. Let's do this one here.
5G kills humans.
I still hear 5G. New
3G,
chip.
man.
This is Forbes.com. New chip advancements highlight 5G momentum. So despite all the stories there, while some have tried to imply that momentum around 5G has slowed because of the impact of COVID-19, looking at major new chip advances from companies like Qualcomm and MediaTek suggest a very different perspective. In fact, developments seem to be moving forward at a rapid pace. MediaTek, for example, just unveiled its Dimensity 820, an SoC system on chip that includes the company's own sub-6 gigahertz 5G modem, as well as an ARM-based octa-core CPU featuring 4 Cortex-A76 big cores, an ARM Mali G57-based GPU, and neural network processors. The 820 comes shortly after the debut of the Dimensity 1000 family, MediaTek's first 5G native SoC that's expected to power soon-to-be-released phones from Oppo, OnePlus, and others in Asian markets. What's interesting about the Dimensity 820 is that it offers support for dual 5G SIMs, which could be of interest in many Asian countries where dual SIM usage is quite popular. And it goes on. Here's a fairly kind of a longer article that goes into all the stuff in Samsung and the technology. But point being that the technology advances. It continues to advance, despite the fact that, Basil, your story that I had for you in New Zealand, they're still vandalizing 5G towers. So, it's all just moving forward. Edge computing, AI, cloud computing.
Man, they've taken down like almost 20 of these 5G towers now.
Yeah, the Business Insider article that we had planned to really dig into, but again, running short on time.
Yeah, that's fine. If you're running short on time, all the 5G stuff is kind of just,
yeah,
it's the stuff.
It's the stuff. The headline is 17 cell phone towers in New Zealand have been vandalized since the lockdown, coinciding with a boom in 5G conspiracy theories. So again, always trying to bring down the conspiracy theorist with this notion that 5G. It's interesting how they're using that as the way to sort of poo-poo everybody who's questioning 5G. It's all one big thing.
Genetics in the chat reminded me that our 5G, 3G problem is like the Yanny Laurel debate.
It is.
Do you remember that?
It's the hearing. Yeah, exactly.
We have Yanny Laurel is back in the house.
Oh my gosh! And if anyone doesn't know, it's
just Google it. Just Google Yanny Laurel.
Yeah. You want to do the cybernetic thing real quick, and then we'll do the Nephilim update, and we'll be out of here.
Okay.
Are you ready to become cyborg?
Yeah.
Are you ready to become 5G cyborg?
5G cyborg?
cns.u, texas.edu. This is a sort of a academic thing here. It reads, this semester, the College of Natural Sciences is checking in with faculty experts about developments related to their fields of study that may well affect how we live, work, and interact with one another and the world around us over the next 50 years. For this installment, we hear from Professor Andy Ellington, Nancy Lee, and Perry R. Bass, Regents Chair in Molecular Biology, and Wilson M., and Catherine Fraser, Research Professor in Biochemistry, who is a professor of molecular biosciences. When he's not overseeing research into new diagnostics for COVID-19, he considers how humans might someday overcome the physical limitations of our biological inheritance. In the past, we talked about cybernetics as though machines were extensions of humans, Waldos, remotely operated devices that act like arms and hands, were extensions of human form and function that would decrease our workload and extend our capabilities in this imagining. Think of the exoskeleton in Aliens 2 or the actual military exoskeletons developed with DARPA funding. Of course, in reality, the machines have won. An assembly line is not full of Waldos. It is full of robots. And so it now goes with the rest of automation. In medicine alone, surgeons will be grudgingly but surely replaced by robots, and diagnostics will be neural nets of unparalleled subtlety and accuracy, referring to artificial intelligent doctors there. And thus, what of humans? It remains to us to It remains to us to up our game through augmentation. We must. Even leaving aside what we could do as genetically modified organisms, the ability to adapt our own neural net. Well, then I gotta zoom in. This font is so tiny.
Yeah.
The ability to adapt our own neural net, our remarkable brains and nervous systems to work with machines is an unparalleled opportunity that the invisible and increasingly robotic hand of capitalism will drive forward. Glasses to Google Glasses to ocular implants, ear horns to hearing aids to cochlear implants that don't just restore sound but improve the range of our hearing and similarly provide us with immediate connectivity to online data. But these are just the starting point. For earlier experiments have shown that monkeys with cortical implants could learn to move cursors somehow. The amazing adaptive machine that is the brain learned to directly control a computer Waldo. And of course, we already see virtual reality devices that range from eye tracking to direct monitoring of brain activity. All the pieces are in place for a human-machine interface that works both ways, where we not only play with Pokemons, what a dad way to put that, where we not only play with Pokemons, but perhaps they even train us. In imagining a future where humans are something of a new life form, life in quotes, more linked than ever to our computational devices, one key will be better direct interconnectivity between neurons and electrons, so that we're not operating through the kludge of our eyes and ears or spotty neural activity, a la the dystopian but visionary sci-fi novel Neuromancer, which we haven't talked about recently. Advances in neurobiology, electrochemistry, and synthetic biology should soon allow us to jack in to the net. So there you go. Just some fun talk about how soon we're all going to become cyborgs. But this term Waldos, had you heard this before?
I've read it in the past, but yeah.
Yeah, I somehow it had eluded me because we actually have reported on a lot of Waldos recently. Let me see if I can figure out what these are, Waldos, remotely operated devices that act like arms and hands. Oh, that must not be the actual acronym.
Yeah, maybe it's just
I wonder
a
what
nickname.
The actual acronym.
The big thing that really jumped out to me in this article is, first off, it's a University of Texas outlet, so it's a university paper, which again, it's not too surprising, but it's the direction of where those types of institutions are headed. And the mention of the machines have won. It's almost like they've given up. It's like, the machines won. We can't beat the machines. And the only way to keep up is through augmentation. It's very Elon Musky.
Yeah.
And then
this was very like we've already lost.
Yeah.
Like
we've lost the war.
Which puts the imperative on us to catch up. Like you've already lost, and the only way to catch up is to take the implants.
Yep, and become a new life form. And if we can't beat him, join them. And so the question remains:
Are you ready to become cyborg?
Yep. Okay.
Yep. All right.
You got anything else on that, or are you good?
No. Hit us with that Nephilim update.
Oh, wrong article on the screen there. Hold on. Do I have the Nephilim update on the screen? I should. Here it is. Breaking Israel news. This was our last, a couple Nephilim updates ago. 6.5 earthquake near Area 51. A 6.5 magnitude earthquake, Nevada's largest in 66 years, was reportedly felt on Friday. That's last Friday. Morning across 3 states from southern Utah to central California. Aftershocks continued to shake the region with 6 in the next hour, topping 4.5 on the Richter scale. No injuries were reported, but the main highway between Las Vegas and Reno was damaged and closed as a result of the quake. This is the third 3.0 magnitude earthquake in the last 10 days for that region, according to the LA Times. And I'm not going to really get into a whole lot of it other than, the article just uses the earthquake near Area 51 as an excuse to talk about UFOs and extraterrestrials, as Elon Musk says.
Where are the aliens?
Or asks, I guess. And of course, you got Zoukalos, a picture of Zoukalos there with the hair. I'm not saying it was aliens, but it was aliens. And it's got Area 51, blah, 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 the secrecy, all this kind of stuff that we've dug into in the past. Biblical connection. Are aliens described in the Bible as Nephilim? Some biblical scholars have suggested that the Bible describes what many would call aliens or extraterrestrials. The 6th chapter of Genesis describes interaction between strange creatures called Nephilim, literally the fallen, and men. And I feel like they just cut and paste a lot of stuff about the Nephilim that they wrote in the last Breaking Israel News Nephilim update that we had. The Talmud, Sanhedrin 97a, describes how the Nephilim will return as a part of the Messianic process. In the Talmud's discussion, Rabbi Yitzchak asks Rabbi Nachman, "Do you know when Bar Nafli, the sons of the fallen, will come?" Rav Yitzchak asks, Rav Yachman replies, it is Messiah. And then later on, it talks about, I don't know why I have this highlighted. Yuval Ovadiah, an expert in Nibiru and other astronomical matters, believes that Area 51 and the installation in Tonopah are hiding secrets. Quote, "It is clear that the U.S. government is hiding something in Area 51. This is something they don't even attempt to deny. It may be aliens, but it is not clear that aliens are what the Bible was referring to when it described Nephilim. It would be intellectually dishonest to suggest that there is only one form of alien. If there are one species of alien, there are undoubtedly countless forms. Similarly, there are many beings that are not human that are described in the Jewish sources. Anakim giants, which are descended from the Nephilim, according to Numbers 13:33, are one such form that the verse in Numbers connects to the Nephilim. There you go. And I think they spelled Nephilim wrong there. Double L. Interesting. It could also be that if there are aliens in Area 51, they could be Shedim, demons. But in all the cases, our forefathers knew how to cope with them, and we can as well. And then at the end here, quote, Jewish sources do not deny that there are many, do not deny that there may be life on other planets. It is left as a possibility, Obadiah said. But Jewish sources do not relate to anything that does not have any practical or philosophical implications that we need to relate to. If and when aliens become relevant to our service of God, it will become clear that they are here, just as the Nephilim were obviously present to the people before the flood.
Nephilim update, Nephilim update, Nephilim update.
So there you go. Another excuse to dive into Nephilim lore by Breaking Israel News, using the earthquake to suggest that I don't know, aliens or Nephilim are under Area 51 or not.
Yeah, well, they're over there on I've said it pretty much every episode for the past week, but over on No Agenda Show there, they played a clip from one of their listeners who's a truck driver and was driving between, around the earthquake area, and he saw cracks in the road.
Right.
As a truck driver, he knew that was from the earthquake. And then he looked up, and above the mountains where, off in the distance where he said there was a bright blue light shining behind the mountains.
Yeah.
That didn't look like anything he had ever seen before. So there you go. We got some blue beam. We got some earthquakes. We got some Nephilim. We got to watch out for those folks over in Nevada there.
Yeah. Good luck. All that desert land, you never know what's going on in the deep desert.
You never know. So there you go. And we're going to land this plane here. But before we do, I want to give just a couple more shout outs to the Twitch folks. A few more followers here. We got Anti-Lucifer 777.
Ooh.
There we go.
Okay.
We got Kimbalui 1.
Kimbalui.
And we got CTM Adventures.
Nice.
Thank you, CTM Adventures. His way in the chat said truckers see a lot. I believe that. If anybody sees the weirdest stuff in the country, it's truckers. So actually, we got a bunch of truckers who listen to the show. So what's up, truckers? There you go. Call out to all the trucker listeners here. And folks, remember, thank you so much for following us at twitch.tv/Canary Cry Radio. We're going to keep calling out until we hit our goals over there, and you could be one of the crowd that helps us do that. And nobody's taken the Chadoxy1 NCOV19 username yet, so
not yet.
You might have to pop that in the chat again, because I need somebody to take that username.
You need me to find that? That's going to be hard to find.
And thank you guys so much. And, like I've said before, Twitch has a bunch of great ways for content producers like Gons and I to support ourselves. As, the world starts to get rolling again, this is your chance, if you're getting put back to work, if you're getting put back into the society, we're super happy to hear that. We have yet to be put back into society, Gons, so this is what we got. This is how we're supporting ourselves, and Twitch is going to help us do that. So you can follow us at twitch.tv/Canary Cry Radio and watch the show live. That's the most important part there. Do that. And, we go by the value for value model. If you got value out of this show or any of our shows, please consider supporting the show. You can do that at patreon.com/CCNT for Canary Cry News Talk, patreon.com/CCNT, or you can go to canarycryradio.com/support.
canarycryradio.com/support.
That's right. If you support the show financially, you're a producer. You are a producer of the show, and you get to claim that. And also, if you help out in other ways, like creating jingles for us, if there's we didn't do any ask for any jingles today, Gons, but if anybody out there ever wants to send us some jingles regarding, some things that we talk about, send it on over to canarycryradio@gmail.com. It's a great way to, again, get a shout out on the show and help us put our production together. That's super helpful. And thank you, Gons. Do you have the names of the people who sent us jingles?
Yes. It was Godspeed to Finch and Joseph. So thank you, Godspeed to Finch and Joseph, for sending us.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. And keep those jingles coming, folks. And here's the thing. Remember, you all have friends and family who are getting their news from the mainstream media and their Facebook wall and anywhere else where they shouldn't be getting it. And here's the thing, folks. Here's step 1. You walk right up to him. Step 2, you grab him by the cage. Step 3, you gotta shake it.
The end of the world occurred pretty much as we had predicted.
I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages. Hey, stop that! You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy. Leave the bird alone. Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
The human race will have every opportunity to improve.
And if they don't?
Ask Noah.
Ask Noah.
Ask Noah. That's right. And so thanks everybody for watching. Gons, I had a question for you and I forgot what it was.
Very good.
Let's see if it comes back up. But remember, folks, it also helps a whole bunch if you leave a rating and a review on your podcatcher or wherever you listen to this show. And make sure to tune in next time. Oh, that's what it was. We were going to do a show this Friday, but are we moving that, Gons?
I think we might have to do it tomorrow, Thursday, 21st of May. Yep.
All right. Well, keep an eye out, everybody. We're going to probably be trying to do a show tomorrow. That's Thursday, the 21st. So make sure to tune in for that. Same time, same place, sometime between noon and 5 o'clock PST. Check our Facebook and our Twitter and things. We'll be putting out a warning about a half hour before the show. So there you go, folks. All right, everybody. So make sure to catch the next show. But until then, all together now, remember to think outside the cage.
I want to shake things up, shake things up. I want to shake things up, shake things up. Leave the bird alone. I want to stir up some controversy. I want to rattle a few cages. I want to rattle a few cages. I'm the last angry man. You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man. I'm the last angry man. You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man. A crusader for the little guy. Little guy. Little guy. Well, we'll see about that.
Whatever, Illuminati.